Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start with the story of how our OP became much happier after he did what his wife asked him to do. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Go find another woman to make you happy. I've been married for 6 years, have a son. The last few years have been rough. I grew up firmly believing marriage is a forever thing, and still do really, so I was basically just dealing with it. A couple years ago, she had an emotional affair, which she never really got over, but she claims she never did anything physical. Thought we could get through it. Anyways, around 9 months ago, she says she isn't happy. We found a therapist she can go to, find out it isn't covered by insurance after the first visit. I ask if we can find one that's covered, and she refuses. I figure 4 visits at $300 each isn't going to kill me if she's able to be satisfied with the marriage. 4 visits go by. She tells me she's moving out and I need to find another woman to make me happy. I'm devastated. Plead with her not to leave. She does it anyway. At around this point, I find out another thing she did that she lied about. A few weeks later, she pleads to come back. I give her a solid no. She's devastated, saying she's learned and wants to try again. I point to a couple years ago saying I gave her another chance then. I start divorce proceedings. I find another woman who's super amazing. Really fun person who respects me and thinks having a kid that I share custody with shows me being responsible. Ex-wife realizes she doesn't have nearly enough money to live anymore. Has huge financial troubles. She's upset because she no longer has enough money to live. Says she's devastated because she lost the person who loved her the most in the whole world. I have to say that it still kind of hurts, but objectively, I'm so much happier than I used to be. Even if my current relationship doesn't work out in the long term, it proved to me that there are people out there that will respect me, and I'm better off than I was before. And this never would have happened otherwise because I still don't think I would have filed for divorce if she didn't move out. Marriage is a serious commitment. And our second story. Rich guy said he might die if we don't do his landscaping for cheap. So here's some background information that's important to the story. My cousin, 15-year-old male, and I, 21-year-old male, run a small local landscaping LLC that mostly works in the neighborhood where we live. This is not my actual job, but it's a good way for both of us to earn a bit of extra money. We mostly cut grass, but landscaping opportunities come up every once in a while, and I'm happy to take them. We live in a pretty nice suburban neighborhood where most people have enough money to live fairly comfortably. I've been landscaping for over 6 years and have had to raise my working rate to fit my experience and the demand for work in my area. Usually I charge $20 to $30 per hour of work. This is important. I don't care if you think it's overcharging. The story. This guy, let's call him Bob, mid-50s male, lives a few doors down from a family that my LLC works with on a regular basis. He lives in a very nice house and owns a sizable chunk, 5 acres of land behind it. He has so many cars that they don't all fit in his driveway, and they often block the sidewalk. There's usually 6 cars in total parked in his driveway, and I think he owns all of them. 2 of the cars are Cadillacs. He always watches us work from his yard or his window. It's kind of creepy. But I don't really do anything about it because he's within his rights, and I just want to finish the job as quickly as possible. The only time I've talked with Bob over the past few years is when he was trying to tell me how to do my own job. He's literally walked over and told my cousin that we need to do this or that to our client's yard. One time he even asked me to take 5 minutes of my own time to mow his side yard for free because he forgot to do it and didn't want to get his mower back out. I did it as a gesture of kindness in hopes that he'd stop bothering us. It didn't stop him. He continued to bother us for the next few years, up until today. So today we were parked outside a client's house unloading equipment from the truck, and Bob pulls up in his Lexus. Hey, would you guys be able to work with me if I filled my truck up with mulch for 1 or 2 hours? And how much do you charge? Said Bob. Yeah, I charge $25 per man hour, I replied. What? Bob said with a confused expression on his face. He means it's $50 per hour for both of us to work, my cousin replied. What? There's no way you're making that much. Maybe on the lawn mowing, but definitely not the landscaping, Bob replied in a mildly irritated tone. Yes, I do make that much, Bob. In fact, after I'm done mowing this lawn, I'm about to go over and mulch you guys' beds at that rate. If you don't like my rate, I'm sure there are other boys in the neighborhood that do it for cheaper. I said it in a neutral tone. At this point, I really just wanted him to leave because I had a job to do and he clearly wasn't interested in paying what I charge. I can't afford that. I was going to pay you both $10 an hour for 8 hours of work, tax-free. Doesn't that sound like a good deal? Bob said in reply. I don't know why the amount of work magically increased, but that's just what he said. Also, we do pay taxes on our work. We just have to disclose how much our business makes to the IRS separately, so our clients and prospective clients don't necessarily know that we do it on our own time. Again, you don't have to hire me. I'm sure there are other neighborhood boys that'd do the job for you cheaper, I said. At this point, the situation was just awkward for my cousin and I, so we were just trying to be polite and get him to leave. Well, if I have to do it myself, I might keel over and die. You wouldn't want that, would you? Bob queried. I can't believe it either, but he actually said this. I stood there stunned for a second, but then I said again, I'm not trying to bust you up financially, but you know you can get other people to work for you, right? He once again ignored my point and started rambling about how his wife, daughter, and son started the mulching and were having trouble doing it on their own, and commented on how wealthy people must be hiring us. Most of my clients are a lot less well off than him from what I can tell, yada yada yada. Trying to end the conversation, I say, well, Bob, if you change your mind, do you have my contact info? No, he replied, but I know where you live. Then he kind of just drove away somewhat abruptly. Now, I'm not really sure if that comment was passive-aggressive or not, because he actually does know where I live. We live in the same neighborhood. But I definitely didn't care, even if it was a threat. My cousin and I are trained fighters. I do MMA and was a high school wrestler, and he wrestles in high school. And although I suspect he's a gun owner, I highly doubt he was implying he wanted to make the neighborhood a war zone, especially against a current member of the military. In addition to that, Bob's not in great shape, i.g. his comments about keeling over and dying despite being in his late 50s at most. So obviously, based on what information I have, I can speculate that Bob probably has enough money to pay my rate and either thinks that I'm stupid enough to think he's poor, or he lives in delusion thinking that $10 an hour is a lot of money for experienced landscapers to spend hours to do his mulching. I would also like to say that I didn't bring up anything to refute his claim about being poor or say something rude to him because it'd be negative PR for my business. My cousin helped where he could, but he's not much of a talker when it comes to these situations. 9 times out of 10, rich people get away with that because they're cheap. And our last story. Chili revenge. In my last relationship, I lived with my husband, Danny, in a duplex owned by his mother, Donna. We lived on one side, and his mother and brother lived on the other side. Donna was a very abusive person and took great joy in belittling me and tormenting me every chance she got. She took extra pride in herself if she succeeded in making me cry. My ex-husband is a professional cook and would often prepare enough food for his mother, in addition to ourselves. On occasions when I would do the cooking, she also expected to be served dinner. One thing I often made was chili. Both my ex and his mother loved my chili, but both liked their chili on the spicy side. I never made my chili spicy as I have a sensitive stomach. My ex would just add hot sauce to his serving, and that was that. But Donna would complain endlessly about the chili not being spicy, even going so far as to demand that I make the next batch of chili spicy for her. I told her I wasn't going to do that because I wouldn't be able to eat it. She essentially told me that what I wanted didn't matter since she'd been gracious enough to allow me to live in her home. I told her if she wanted it spicy, she could add hot sauce to it like my ex did, or she could make her own damn chili. So the next time my ex told her I was making chili, she came over while I was making it and watched me like a hawk, demanding I add this, that, and the other thing. I told her I'd be making my chili the way I wanted to, and she could go home and wait for it to be done or find something else to eat. She left and I continued tending to my chili. Now, my ex is somewhat of a hot sauce connoisseur, and he's never met a hot sauce that was too spicy for him, so the previous Christmas I bought him a bottle of Carolina Reaper puree. When the chili was ready, he asked me to make a Tupperware container of chili for his mother while he used the bathroom, and he'd take it over to her when he was done. So like the good little wifey I was, I put the chili into the container with a heaping tablespoon of Carolina Reaper, mixed it up really well, added some shredded cheese on top, and closed it up, ready to be delivered next door. Ex finished in the bathroom, delivered the chili, and we sat down to our meal. We just finished approximately 30 minutes later when his phone rang. My ex liked to have his conversations on speaker, and I was glad of it this time. Danny, something's wrong. What's wrong, Mom? The chili. Oh, it's burning me up. What did your wife do to this chili? Ex looks at me confused. I just shrug. She didn't do anything to it. It's just her normal chili. What did you add to it, Mom? I added a little sriracha, but it shouldn't be hot like this. Well, maybe you added too much. That hateful bee did something to my chili, Daddy. I'm gonna kill her. Calm down, Ma. You're overreacting. I want her out of my house. You can't kick her out over chili, Ma. Watch me. And she hung up. My ex looked at me and asked, did you really do something to her chili? I smiled sweetly and said, B wanted it spicy? It's effing spicy. There were no real repercussions from this other than being cursed out by her. Also, she was perfectly fine and never asked for my chili again. So bonus. First rule of dining, don't F with the people who cook and serve your food. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.